Welcome to Stewards of Success podcast. I'm Brent Mikosh, as always, joined by my partner at the Wealth Stewards and co-host of the show, Jeff Rees. And we've got a really fantastic guest on today. We have Tarl Robinson. He's the CEO and founder of Plexus Worldwide. And I think we're going to get a lot of great insights today, but just to give you a background on who Tarl is, he has a very long history in direct sales in health and wellness, but started with Plexus back in 2008 and was able to take this from a company with a single product to now a global company with 30 products and by some measures over 100,000 brand ambassadors out in the field. And I think what's been most interesting as I've done some research for this conversation is that obviously Plexus is out there selling products, but everything that they are doing is really centered around the people in the industry and what they're bringing to both the ambassadors and also the clients. So Tarl, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Stewards of Success. And let's start with your origin story. So direct sales, Plexus, what got you into direct sales to begin with?
Oh, well, yeah, thanks for asking, but great to be here, Jeff. Brent, thank you for having me on. Looks like a fabulous show. Did a watch, so congratulations on the success you're having and getting this word out to the people. So, yeah, Plexus, as you said, we've been there in business for a while, 18 years ago. What got us started? Well, I'd grown up around this industry of direct sales. I've been around it basically my whole life. From childhood, my parents earned their incomes as sellers in direct sales. So for those who don't know direct sales, companies like Amway, Mary Kay, bigger names, older names in the industry, it's a model where individuals get commissions for referrals. So they refer people products. They suggest, hey, these products, I love these products. I tried these products. You might be able to get benefit from them. And they get a commission from that. And a model that's been around for a long time, 60 plus years, probably 100 plus years. And it's one of the strongest referrals that I think the most valuable referrals we can get is an authentic referral. You know, Brent, you telling Jeff, I tried a restaurant last night and I think you'll love it. And often we crave that kind of referral. Yeah.
So what were your parents, first of all, what age range are we talking about here? And what were your parents selling when they were in direct sales?
Yeah, so I was, probably 10 years old in that age range, and through my teens, got to witness. They were part of a company that focused on health and wellness products, products around weight loss, general health products. A lot of encapsulated products, drink products, yeah.
I think it's so powerful to see at a young age. I mean, Jeff, you obviously grew up next to the family business.
Yeah. I mean, those formative years of watching loved ones, make their income and then the lifestyle around you. I got to watch it literally. My house was next door to the business that my grandfather owned. My dad worked there. My grandmother worked there. Their staff was like family. So I'm curious, based off of that, was there a difference for you that you noticed as a youngster, as a growing a boy, of your parents, as your parents versus business people? Did it all blend as one? Because I have an answer, and I'm curious if yours is any different.
Well, I think I was caught holistically by what they were sharing. So I started before my mother remarried. When she first got going in the business, I'd set up chairs on Wednesday night in the living room.
Yes, that's awesome.
So kind of help set up, and I'd sit in the back of the room and eat sandwiches. I'd set out a tray of sandwiches, and half of them would get eaten, and half of them wouldn't. So I'd eat the other half as the meeting went on. But as I was eating the sandwiches, people would stand up and tell their story about what the products did for them. They're getting healthy, losing some weight. And what the business opportunity was doing for them. Hey, I've been doing this for 3 months and I've achieved some success. I'm helping my family out, and it was amazing to me because everything else I'd seen was kind of counter that. We'd known our folks to go out and go to work.
Yeah.
So it was kind of really interesting to kind of watch from that perspective, and I think that's what caught me about this industry from an early age.
I think those formative years are so important because Jeff, I know, had an impact on you, and I grew up. My dad was in financial services. And my dad would tell you he never really worked a day in his life. He loved what he did. And obviously, I'm sitting here today, so that left a mark and left an impact as well. Now, let's talk about direct sales or any kind of sales. The potential for failure is really, really high. Any business is a tough industry, but sales is for sure. What do you think you've been able to do with Plexus to dramatically grow the company and bring success in an industry that, quite frankly, I'm sure can be pretty difficult and challenging in some ways?
Yeah, well, I mean, the potential isn't high; it's inevitable, right, for failure in sales, right? Because if you're going to continue on in sales, you're going to fail, and what's your resilience to that failure, and what's your learning curve, and what's your adjust move. So I think we've got to think, all of us, no matter what our jobs, that we're in some form of sales, whatever our capacity is supporting. We're in organizations that are selling something, and what's our role to support that? Help me back on track with your question.
So when you came into Plexus, now you had some, obviously you grew up around direct sales, and you saw Plexus now as a company that was out there back in 2008, single product. Yeah. What was it about Plexus, or what did you see the potential was that made you now want to say, okay, I'm going to take the focus of my life's effort here and put it on the Plexus and grow this thing?
Yeah, so going from that childhood story to early adulthood, I did 7 years as a seller in direct sales. So I was out in the field building a sales team with me, building, sharing, doing the same thing what my folks did in the way of sharing. And I just continued to fall in love with the industry, the space, the personal development that really came along with it. Fast forward, I'd grown up in Washington State. I'd moved down here to Arizona in my early 20s. And I was kind of searching for something new. I was searching for a new company, and I was doing some other things. I'd started another business, and I'd got a call about Plexus, this small network marketing company, and it was doing $100,000 a month in sales, four employees, one product, and we went and took a look at this. The person who owned the company was looking to get out and needed some capital to keep it afloat, keep the people in business, the ambassadors who were selling, keep them afloat, keep the employees afloat. But what we really saw was the infrastructure. What we looked at and we saw under the hood, we go, boy, this is kind of a pass. Like we were getting ready to pass on the thing because, I mean, a single product, not a lot of sales. But when I chatted with the mentor, we went through and took he took me through a process of what would it take to replicate what they have. And we went through and kind of added up. Okay, they're shipping products. They got a website up. Their employees in place, office in place. What would that cost? And we came up with a number, and it was about $250,000 to replicate it. And the asking price was somewhere a little under half of that. So. Yeah. I don't know that made it good. It doesn't. You don't necessarily throw good money after bad, they say. And just because those, there was a higher value of what was there and a lower cost, didn't necessarily make it a heck yes. But it certainly it helped tip the table to take the leap of faith and jump in.
I'm reminded of what I think core belief of mine, which is if you're doing something you're not scared a little bit by it, it's probably not the right thing. I mean, everything that's a sure thing is already, a sure thing. What's the point? So I love that idea, but I like the idea of, one, having a mentor, and I'm curious about that mentor, and two, using a framework for decision making. So can you go back for me to the mentor? Who was this person? How would they come to that role? Because it sounds like without them, you probably would have passed. Is that fair?
Yeah. So it was a previous distributor who was in my what we call our upline, someone who was a mentor in the sales force I was in. So I came in under two individuals, two businesses under him, and was just somebody that I think, I joined network marketing from the Salesforce perspective when I was 20. So I was a young person, and the majority of the people were in their 30s and their 40s and beyond. So every once in a while, as a young person, you get somebody who looks down and goes, geez, this person needs help. This person needs some help.
The pity reach.
But there's something there that we want to help.
Totally.
Well, in our business, if you can shine somebody, build somebody up, there's a benefit for him. So, guided me along the way. My 7 years in direct sales, and then was just one of the things I love about the industry. Lifelong friends I have from the industry, from my early 20s. Friends I have that I know from my parents' business.
Yeah.
People who are in their 70s and 80s that I know, that we stay in touch with, that I, see, have lunch with here in town when they come into town. But stayed in touch with the gentleman, and, it even guided me early on in the early days of Plexus, gave some sage advice that helped us along too. So, Yeah, if you can find somebody, if someone latches onto you, sometimes make sure if that's a good latch, hang on to them.
I'm also thinking about how important it is to be in the health and wellness business and then have ambassadors who are in their 70s and 80s still that you're in contact with to show the proof that it was worth it all these years to pay attention to your health, So that's kind of like a full circle moment, probably cool as well.
Yeah. So let's go back to 2008. We all know something pretty big was happening in the global economy in 2008. Mm-hmm. Now, was that good for you trying to launch or really build out a direct sales business where now people are they're looking for reasons to earn some other income, and maybe there's a little pressure that's been placed on them that they've got to now act on. So was that a help? Did that help you guys or did it hurt you guys in 2008?
Yeah, well, our industry, they say, is reverse economic cycle. So you'll often see network marketing kind of building during a down economy and maybe struggling a little bit in a high economy. And I personally don't think it's necessarily economy, but it's optimism, which is probably related very hand in hand with economy. And from my perspective, from what I experienced, it wasn't really down. It wasn't the down. We didn't hit it at 2000. It wasn't like 2008. Everybody rushed in.
Yeah,
right.
It was more like 2011 that we really saw, because it goes from I think that that mentality, that perception of economy or someone's state of affairs. My realization there's a problem and my acting upon doing something, I think there's some lag time, especially when you think as a population as a whole and people as a whole. So I think there's a lag behind that, which we experienced about 2011, people really starting to get serious about what's my plan B.
Was there a pivotal decision that you made at the corporate level of Plexus that maybe was adding new product or changing different strategies, engaging with the ambassadors that you think led to that growth in 2011? Or was it largely cyclical in timing where people had gotten over the shock and recovered from the recession? Now they're looking, saying, hey, I got to take more control of my own life here.
We had made some reviewing what we're doing, from a product standpoint, from a compensation plan standpoint. We made some changes that, in a good compensation plan, in my opinion, you're trying to, build something that's very hard to build because you're trying to build something for part-time income, someone who wants to come in and pay for their products to, make a few $100, to people wanting to make middle-of-the-row money, to people who want full-time income. So you're trying to develop something for everybody, and that's, reality is that's hard to do or not possible. So there was that, but in conjunction with down economy, kind of us finding, our legs under us was the what I'd call rise of social media and what that played into network marketing and everything we do today is probably 50 years old. You look at everything, the way we introduce people to a product. We try to get them to try the product. We see if we can get them on a 90-day result, and we see if there's any interest in sharing about the business opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's what we were doing 50 years ago in network marketing is what we're doing today, but the way we do it, right. the way the business may be conducted is a little different, and social media was a light year jump for that.
So what I was just thinking of that struck me as you were talking is isn't direct sales like the original gig economy, side hustle? If you think about it, you guys invented that, and then to your point, I feel like social media and a younger generation, sort of decided to latch on to, well, I need to do something else. And I think one of the things to that 2009, 10, 11 period is, and we talk about it generationally, an entire generation of people watched their parents through no fault of their own get laid off. Yeah. And the loyalty to the company, and again, good, bad, or indifferent, however you want to view it, it happened. And so I just think it's interesting, watching this explosion of people wanting to control their own destiny. And there you guys were, again, to your point, having done it for 50 years, hey, here we are. So what a cool moment for you.
And when that began happening, 2011 kicks in, people are now taking control. Social media is acting as a launch pad for you. Growth creates its own set of challenges. What were some of the challenges that you had once you went from a one-product company and started dramatically scaling larger at that point?
All the ones you would think of. So we, early on we were doing all the shipping, warehousing, and from a small scale, going from starting of shipping 15 or 20 packages a day to and 4 employees to scaling that as we grew. up over 400 employees, up over multiple 100,000, 250,000, 300,000 packages a month. So, going from, that early day to 10 years, 12 years in, oh my gosh. Yeah. The scale of the operation and the speed of it, right? Those numbers I described probably happened in about a 7-year period, kind of cycling up to that top end of where we remained for about 6 or 7 years. That was 4 home offices. We'd move 4 home offices 4 times. It was, going from having a 2,200 square foot office space, multiple offices where we did everything to, adding a shipping room,
right,
to, moving, and we got a warehouse attached, and then we moved to our own independent building, and then a call center, and and so how we piece that together. You're forced to, but you also have to be ahead of it.
So when you're building something that's growing that quickly, complexity increases, but the likelihood of something breaking also increases. Is there anything that broke in the company that maybe that you want to share? Maybe people at Plexus haven't really heard, but you had to do a fix. You had to make a real fast decision to get it back on track.
When I think to early on, we had an implementation of, we have a back end software that kind of handles our ambassadors business, handles our shipping business. And today it's got a lot different looking, complexity is the wrong word, a different look of how it's pieced together, not more holistically. We had an implementation that was down for probably 72 hours. So, basically we turned everybody's business off for 72 hours.
Did you get a little feedback?
Yeah, we got a little bit of feedback for sure. And it went from, understanding to concern to, some form of fright.
Yeah, of course.
Some form of fright of like our business is going to be okay, because we were just getting going. Like when we made this change, it was probably three and a half years in, and a change we needed to make to be able to continue to scale. Like one of those things that you have to do, or you will be stuck. We would have been stuck. But yeah, the calls, and I pulled the team together, and we were probably less than 20 employees at the time. I pulled the 3 key people together that were over the project. And, at the end of the story was like, this is how network marketing companies go out of business.
Yeah. So how did you get them back on board? How did you get your ambassadors out in the field on board, but also the folks at corporate that had to fix this? Like to regain that trust, I guess. That's the question.
Yeah, well, we got it up. We got the product up in the next 12 to 24 hours, and the flow of business going again. So kind of one of those deep breath moments. At least we're up and running, and it was just clear conversations. One, we went into it trying to deliver a message of why we were doing it and why the need was to our top leaders and our sales force, but. Following that up with, obviously an apology. Yeah, you got to apologize and take ownership in those moments. But some clarity. Here's what we're going to do, and you also feel like sometimes I feel like we feel like we've got to get into details about like how this is never going to happen again. Reality is people don't care about your details. How it's never. They just want to know it's never going to happen again. Yeah. And never's a too strong of a word, but I think that was the start of a resilience for the company to be the company that got it right. Gets it right. Got it right. It's not the right thing because you're going to get it wrong, but get it right.
Yeah, it's just inevitable until the next thing breaks, which hopefully isn't the same thing that broke the last time, right? But something's going to go wrong, and I think ownership as the founder leader of it is super important. And I guess one of my questions is not to try and go too fast, too forward, but how many brand ambassadors do you have now?
135, 150,000.
Okay, so whenever this implementation of software or whatever it was broke, how many ambassadors were there then that were perhaps upset?
3,000.
Okay, 5,000. So how do you think about and how do you really manage the process of messaging to 150,000 people? I mean, how does that work as a leader of an organization just like on a regular basis. I'm super curious how you keep in touch with them, or if that's someone else's job, or what's the messaging there to keep everybody on message for the company?
Yeah, well, as we grew, we tried to expand that quality of delivery and message. Today we have we try a top-down approach. We go after a top-down approach from an advisory board, a field advisory board, top leaders who have been with the company for, most of them, I think, 7-year, 10-year, and beyond. So I've seen some things, experienced some things, built a business, and so we start with them and getting a little, hey, we're thinking about this, how we're going to message it. And then building a great team over time, a great marketing team, a great communications team, people who that's their forte, that when they signed up for school, that was exciting. It wasn't just something they checked off communications, but they were, finding the people that are really excited about it and moved by it.
Yeah.
Finding the people who do that well. And, here's today it's like, here's the message, what do you want to do? And they get so excited about it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And you've got several ambassadors that are out there that, to your point, they're not doing it for free product. They've made really big careers out of this. What have you seen with those ambassadors that have led to their success? Is there a common thread, or does everybody have their unique way of approaching this thing?
A common thread is a purpose. Number one, whether they've got a core purpose, whether you think it's just doing better financially, but usually behind that, to something that might be a real mission driven. Hey, I want to go build wells in Africa. I want to support adoption. I want to do something of support. But I find first and foremost there's a mission driving it behind something they want to do and they're hungry for it. And I would say a hunger. There are people that you just who are willing to go at this thing for 3 years nonstop, and that's not a requirement. But I mean, you see there's a hunger inside the people that go out and do it, and they're not sitting there, minding the clock, And I think successful careers in general, right? You're not finding, we've all got places other things outside of our work that we have to do and want to do, of course, but. And then I think that this industry must, in a way, strike passionately with them, because as I say that, I don't go after something hungrily that I'm not passionate about.
Yeah.
So I think they find passion in it. They had something they wanted to do in life, and they're willing to go at it.
Yeah. Now, you're in a world, obviously, we're all in a world, a lot of competitors, our business as well. There's a lot of noise out there. You need that. You need the ambassadors out there selling product and engaging with them. How do you differentiate Plexus to get in front of them, to have them say the best of the ambassadors out there, the best of the sales folks, that this is what I want to do?
By the way, for those of you listening, as soon as Brent said there's noise out there, we have
Sirens.
fire trucks going behind. I don't know how you timed that, my friend, but that was well done. I don't know what the effects are in the studio
That's
here
a
or
great
what.
button.
But
That's a great button.
So something about noise.
Yeah.
How do we get the people excited about sharing about the opportunity?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost for what it delivered for them, and it's a journey. They never go from zero to high level overnight. I mean, it's 6 months. It's 6 months, 2 years, 6 years for them to take that journey to get to a point where they're delivering on that. I was able to retire my husband. My kids are able to do that thing I wanted to do. We're able to, take advantage and make the most of the time. So, I think being able to share that with others. I think at the end of the day, I mean, what moves this industry is that authentic opening up about what's worked for me, whether it be the products or the opportunity. Yep. So I think on that opportunity side, getting out and saying, well, I think this could authentically, I think you could do this. I think this could change your life. I see you say, you're always saying you want to get your husband to do, you're always saying you want this for your kids. I think this could help for you.
Yeah. Now, you recently, and for those that are listening, the sirens are back. Perhaps editing has pulled it out, but they're here. In preparation for this conversation, I went back and looked at a few clips of you on YouTube, and you recently got an award in the industry, and you talked about in your acceptance speech that you really felt that direct sales and Plexus offered people a different way. That's the term I think you used, was a different way or a different path. Can you talk more about what that is and what that looks like?
Yeah. And to me, it was when I think back to what I described from my early age, what my mom and parents showed me, and without showing me, but just by doing, was a different way. Like that's what's striking me now about this industry, and we call it the great. I think of it as the greatest industry on earth, and why is that? I think because of exactly that, the different way. And while we provide a different way for a seller, and most of sellers find us in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, or beyond. What I found as a kid, struck with me about entrepreneurship, and what could be done by doing something. My folks were doing this in the evenings, and as they built their business, it was done in the nooks and crannies of time. And you think about what we're brought up, the kind of social norms that we were all, to some degree, whether our parents, even if our parents showed us as the social norm out there is, right, let's go to school, let's get you in school, let's get you in college, you better go get a job, now find a career, well, build a good career because you're going to want to retire. Shortly thereafter, we're going to die. Yeah. And we build our lives around that, and it's like, my gosh, reality is, if you believe that story, we've got about 7 to 10 years to enjoy, good years as our health is declining, after the age of 65. So the different way is that you can get out and do things on your own time and take back a lot of your time and be the real gatekeeper of your own time.
Are you seeing, I'm curious, as a result of that, and kind of like, again, societally, I think that message is getting out there that the traditional route of prior generations isn't necessarily as important to success. Are you seeing that show up in your ambassadors? Like, is there any evidence that the ambassadors are joining younger, having success younger? Are you seeing, maybe data, if you look at it, of ambassadors who, are in their first or second job, don't like it, and are bolting this on? What I think of is like listening to Dave Ramsey over the years, talk about, okay, that's great that you want to build something else. Don't quit the thing you've got until you've built it, right? In case it doesn't work. I'm just curious, do you guys, anecdotally or from a data standpoint, do you look at that? And is there any impact to that in what you guys do?
Well, I think we can all look around and see the opportunities are coming up quick and fast, and many. I think a differentiator for direct sales and network marketing are, a lot of what I see out there in the way of gig opportunities and other opportunities are really flexible jobs. Yeah. Are really trading time for money versus building any kind of sales repertoire up, building a database of clients. Or more transactional, last mile delivery or executional, which I think are great flexibility B options for people. Yeah. How do you go build something that's sustainable, that might be able to grow, that's going to grow outside of your own effort, right? Yeah. I think that's what real business is when something is growing outside of the hours you two are going to put in. And that's why we have a team, and that's right. So how do you provide that opportunity for the masses, right? And I think we're looking for that. We're hungry for that. We see it more so in young moms.
Interesting.
I think most moms would probably want to spend more time, more flexibility to spend time when their kids are young, especially when they're young and not in school. I'd like to spend more time, be available more. So we see a strong hunger and desire from folks, I would say 28 to 38 at a early stage in family.
Interesting, yeah.
Now, both of you touched on the fact that there's could be people out there that are thinking of different ideas, things they want to do differently. If there's someone that's listening to this that has an idea, whether it's direct sales or anything else, that would lead to a dramatic change in their life from an employment standpoint, is there one piece of advice that you can give them prior to jumping and making that decision?
Yeah. Take the next step.
Yeah.
Wherever you're at in the process, there's a next step that you're probably hesitant of, right? Wherever you're at, whether it's development of if it's an idea in your head, put it down on paper. put it down on paper and show someone you like. I often, when I've got an idea, I've kind of got a process of kind of dribbling it out there, like taking it from my mind to, depends on what the idea, but I'll try to maybe sneak it out to my kid and see if he thinks it's a bad idea.
And depending on if they're a teenager or not, it's always a bad idea, right? Oh, that's so dumb.
Yeah, no, I've got an 11-year-old boy, and there's a lot of dumb ideas I have. But, or I'll move it through a close, work contact, or to my wife, or you move it in that. So that's my progression. Whatever, if you're really churning on something, I would say whatever that next step is, and usually we're kind of hesitant. So and I take it along, and then I get to hesitant steps, right? I got to have it really in a certain way before I can share here, but
right.
Just share. You get it out there.
Perfection is the enemy of good, so nothing's going to be perfect in its first iteration. I love that.
Yeah, and I think, too, that one of the things that holds people back is I can for sure say in my career and things I've done in my life is like I have no idea how the path is going to look to get from A to B. I know I want to get to B and then hopefully to C and D. How that's all going to progress, I have no clue in many cases. But to your point, I think the thing is you just got to take that next step.
Yeah.
So looking at next steps for Plexus, is there an area, when you visualize the company now out, 5 years out or beyond, what does it look like, and what are some of the big changes that you can see happening to the company to make that happen?
Yeah, so 18 years in, we just cast in the last 30 days what we're calling Vision 30. So we're 18 years in, and Vision 30 is referring to our 30th year in business, 12 years from today. And about 2014, we went from primarily weight loss focus, primarily products and a weight loss story, to focusing on gut health. So in 2014, we put together a package of products, 3 of our products, and a product combination that focused on improving someone's gut health. And in 2014, when I told somebody, or when we talked about gut health, 9 out of 10 people said, "Huh?"
Yeah, exactly.
It was abstract. It was most didn't know. Most didn't even know what you were talking about. And today we've got big ad campaigns about your pet's microbiome, your pet's gut health. Yeah. So awareness is certainly heightened. Education. I think more and more people are educated for sure. But so in 12 years, we've gone from obscurity around gut health to 12 years to today, everybody kind of knows about it. So we're sitting here going, well, where's gut health going to be 12 years from now? Right. And we truly do believe. I mean, it is key to health, to balance of your mental state and your overall well-being. So we want to become the number 1 gut health company in the world, and not just in direct sales, but across the world, the number 1 gut health company, and what would that look like? So we're kind of defining that from what would it look from the way of size, the way of expertise, innovation. You think about advocacy and education, what we might be getting out there. Who are we going to be? So it's growing kind of those categories. And at the end of the day, we want to, number 1's kind of like, it's honestly, I mean, you could have a list, but would that really make you number 1, like on a list? So, I think at the end of the day right now, we're kind of focused in on, like, can we be an authority? So we're saying we definitely have this vision of becoming the number 1 gut health company in the world, but, like, we want to be an authority in the space.
And so that leads to a question I have is, if I were to think about, outside of knowing you, how I would think you build a company, you bring in all these brands. You said you started with 1 product and now there's dozens, if not maybe hundreds, I don't know. As it comes to the building out the gut health, authority element of it, are you doing research on products yourself? Are you guys out there in the market looking what's being done internally? Is it a combination of both? How do you build that? By bolting on, by creating yourselves, some combination?
Yeah, I certainly think combination. Our path has been combination. Internally, we certainly have PhD level folks on staff and R&D team, a quality team, but we certainly rely on all of our products are third-party manufactured, whether that be Arizona or California or around the U.S. They're manufactured, and you've got facilities and labs at these. We go into some of our manufacturers, and they got 200 people working in their R&D lab. It's like, oh my gosh, the capabilities they have, the know-how they have, the the insights, foresight they have to see what's coming down. So it's certainly a combination of. I think it would be. Currently, I would feel like it'd be a mistake to just go, well, it's good. We're gonna develop. Hopefully we develop something. I mean, we'd love to own our own strain of a probiotic or something cool like that. But where does that make sense to do? So who are we going to? We feel like we will certainly have to lean on partners.
Yeah.
Now, as Plexus moves to becoming the number one gut health company in the entire world, there's going to be challenges and there's going to be issues that come up. Is there experience you've had in your journey along the way, a mantra that you have, something that you always fall back on to get you through more challenging times? It could be business, it could be personally, it could be in any of those categories.
In your darkest hour, what are you saying to yourself,
Tarl
Tarl?
Robinson go?
I think you just created my darkest hour. I'm like, what's going to go wrong? I touched on. I think I touched on it earlier. I mean, I think we're never going to be the company that always gets it right. We know that. We've proven it. We'll continue to prove it. Would be my guess. So how do you recognize those moments and not die on that hill, as they say? Just because a decision was made means we can't ever move away from it. So how do I guess the mantra or the mentality would be, how do you get it right? And so, we want to try this product. What if you got some feedback? The ingredient landscape changes every 3 to 5 years in the sense of what the marketplace is looking for. So we launch this product and we get feedback that, oh my gosh, we don't like that sweetening system that you put in there. That's off trend. That's 7 years ago, and we think that's unhealthy. Well, we could sit there and say, well,
It's our problem. Tough.
hey, you continue to sell it. Don't sell it. You don't have to sell it. Okay, let's get a little more feedback. Let's see what other options are. Have we been off base here, and do we need to contemplate a reformulation? So at the end of the day, sometimes you got to put the pencil down too. Sometimes the right answer is, well, let's give it 2 years and we'll see what the continued feedback is.
Yeah.
So I would say a mentality to get it right. In the end.
Yeah, I would wrap that all up though. That's humility as a leader, right? Just to understand that, when things go wrong, you've got to fix it. You've got to evolve, and the humility to know that those things are going to happen, I think, is a huge thing that probably has led to a lot of success for you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that as I've gotten older and grown, when I hear people that can actually come back and admit, hey, maybe that wasn't the best idea, or it's a pretty good idea, but we implemented it entirely wrong, and that ability to pivot and adapt to what the world is telling you, I think is vital for any industry. Well, this has been fantastic, Tarl, and we typically end these conversations with a lightning round. So first word that comes to mind, there are no right or wrong answers. Are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
Here we go.
First one, what are you most proud of?
Family.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
We've got a great 11-year-old boy. I've got a loving wife, and boy, life is good.
Awesome. What is your definition of success?
Control of my time.
Got it. What legacy do you want to leave behind when this is all done with Plexus?
A resilient direct sales company.
What's the one piece of advice no one gave you that you wish they had?
Be open, solicit feedback. Solicit feedback.
Is there a belief that you held maybe 10 years ago that you don't today?
Go on. Pass.
Yes. Perfectly acceptable answer, by the way.
All right. What is something about success that people get completely wrong? What's a misconception about success?
That I think it's that you've got all this ability of freedom, and I think it's it's less freedom. Success is probably less freedom than.
And you might have answered then the next question. What does success cost you that people don't see? I think you just answered it.
Yeah, invest. You got to, whatever you're after, and it's a funny thing, you all are in the business of, people have to invest, right? You know, I mean, I'd like to have this at a certain point in my life. I'd like to have this for my kids in college. Well, let's start investing today. And the later you get at it, the harder it is. Right?
No question.
Well, I think the point there is good decisions, everywhere in your life, business, personally, compound over time, right? So if you have to give good decisions time to compound, and whether it's personal or business, I think, that's a great element to what you just hit on.
If you could get a do-over on anything, what would it be?
Do-over on anything. I would have gotten serious about my family time earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fantastic. This has been a great conversation, Tarl. Really appreciate the time that we spent together. Jeff, what are some of your takeaways?
I mean, my takeaway is the scale of what you built is really amazing to me in a business that is highly competitive. The health and wellness space alone, never mind direct sales, and leadership flows from the top. So what I've learned today is somebody who's intentional, has humility, it shows up in the results. And though, the results aren't necessarily what it sounds like you started with, the results today, it's a byproduct of everything you've done. So congratulations. And I've learned a lot. I'm excited to have spent the time together.
I think my key takeaway is I keep coming back to really how much courage it takes for any entrepreneur, whether it's one of your ambassadors that's out in the field. If you have that mom that has that 6 to 8 month year old child, the courage it takes for her to suddenly decide, hey, now I'm going to put myself out there, because everyone's putting themselves out there in some capacity to go and sell this product because I believe in it, and to share that with the world I think is vitally important. All the way up to the very top of Plexus, or any business for that matter. Challenges arise, things go wrong, the ability to pivot and adapt and still maintain the passion for the business, to me, is the key takeaway. And it's probably because you have that passion for the business that you're willing to do that and go through the challenges and hopefully get all the opportunities that come through that level of growth. So, Tarl, this was fantastic. I really appreciate you joining us. To our listeners out there, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Stewards of Success podcast. On behalf of my co-host, Jeff Breeze, really want to thank you for spending this time with us and looking forward to having another conversation with you.